right, good evening. Call this meeting of the Atwater City Council to order. We're going to start with the invocation by Chaplain Rich Miller, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hey, can we have Ava leading the Pledge of Allegiance?
When we get to that point.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
All right, let's bow our heads in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer this evening, and as always, we ask for your hand of blessing to be upon this time. Father, as we think about the celebration of our country's independence coming up next week, we just thank you for your goodness to our nation. Father, as the songwriter wrote, we're thankful that you shed your grace upon us as a nation. We pray for your continued blessings upon the United States. Father, we thank you for the men and women who keep us safe. We thank you for those that do that on foreign soil, as well as those who do it here domestically. We just pray for your blessings to be upon them and their families. And Father, as always, we ask for wisdom, we ask for guidance and direction in this meeting this evening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
So we have a special guest that is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Did you want to introduce her actually? No, we're good. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, roll call, please.
Ambrose,
Here.
Button,
Here.
Kale,
Here.
Raymond,
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. City Attorney report out from closed session.
Yes, council convened in closed session, received information and provided direction as to the first two matters listed on the agenda.
Thank you. Do we have any subsequent need items?
Mayor, there are none.
Can we get a motion to approve the agenda as posted?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Button, second by Raymond. Kale,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Button,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We have a ceremonial matter tonight. I'm going to present the Atwater City Firefighter of the Year for 2022 to Fire Apparatus Engineer Eric Long. And I'd like Chief Ayuso to come up, assist with that. And also Arturo Martinez from Senator Caballero's office is going to present a certificate as well.
Come on up, guys. Don't be shy. Eric, your wife, you want to come up as well? Your wife? Good evening, everyone. I'm proud to be up here tonight to present this award to Engineer Eric Long out of Station 42. This award is something that I'm extremely passionate about and proud to bring back. It was something that we used to do as a community with multiple jurisdictions together and have a little ceremony, and when COVID hit, it kind of went away. So I'm very proud and honored to bring it back. I think it's important that we recognize those individuals that go above and beyond and do an outstanding job and go above that level of service that's required. So this year, or last year, 2022, I know we're a little behind on it, but we'll get there, was Eric Long. Eric has been in the city of Atwater for about 3 years now, and I'm very proud to have him here. I wish I could honor all my battalion because I think they all do an outstanding job. This award was voted on by his peers. That's why we wanted to have them up here to present it to him. Eric is one of those people that he can come to work after long vacation where we're all sad, like I am today, to come back to work. I wish I was still in Oregon. But have a big smile on his face. I've had to force him on duty on holidays, And I mean, that's the worst part of my job. And I go in and he's got a big grin on his face. It's okay, Chief, I'll get overtime out of it. And it's like, Eric, you're supposed to be mad at me right now. Now you want to hear a joke? You know, he's got a really good attitude, very strong work ethic, works great with his peers. And it means a lot that this was voted by everyone else in the battalion, which is, again, why I wanted them to present it. So we'll present it to you. And if you have anything to say, so this year's 2022 Firefighter of the Year award is Eric Long. Congratulations, Eric. You want to say anything? No. It's an honor to give you that. So, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Arturo Martinez. I'm a field representative for the office of Senator Ana Caballero, and today, on behalf of the California State Senate, in honor of being selected to receive the 2022 Atwater City Firefighter of the Year award from the Atwater City Council, thank you for your continuously looking for new and innovative ways to address serious issues in the Atwater community. Your community is truly appreciated. Congratulations. Presented on June 26, 2023 by Ana M. Caballero.
And on behalf of the City Council, I'd like to present you a similar certificate and thank you for your service to the City of Atwater. All right, we have a couple of presentations this evening. The first is from the Merced County Association of Governments, a report on the Measure V 2023 annual report. Stacy Guzman from MCAG, she's Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. It's good to see you all again. As mentioned, my name is Stacy Guzman. I'm the Executive Director for the Merced County Association of Governments. And the occasion, aside from wanting to, of course, see you all, and I try to get into the Atwater City Council meetings about twice a year, this one in particular is to showcase and celebrate the completion of the 2023 Measure V annual report called On the Move. That was my very talented approach of stalling until my slides were up, so. All right, let's see. Where am I pointing to you? And I'm on. Or not. Is there a trick to this? Oh, down instead of up. Okay, thank you. All right. As you know, Measure V is a half-cent sales tax for transportation that's collected here in Merced County. It was passed by voters in 2016 with assurances that all of the funds that would be collected would be spent only on transportation needs, only in Merced County, and according to the funding categories that were set forth in the expenditure plan as passed by voters. So the plan stipulates that 50% of all of the revenue that's generated through the tax go directly to the local jurisdictions for transportation needs, and that's on a formula basis that takes into consideration your population and percentage of road miles. 44% goes to regional projects, and that's broken down to 27% on the east side of the San Joaquin River and 17% on the west side of the San Joaquin River. 5% of all of the revenue is dedicated for transit uses, and then 1% is for administration that comes to MCAG. So each year, we have a Citizens Oversight Committee that reviews all of the measure expenditures. So every penny that's spent through the measure, this committee reviews those expenditures. They confirm that those funds were spent in accordance with the voter-approved expenditure plan, and then in turn, those are audited, and then those turn into the annual report. You can see the cover there. I have copies in the back in both English and Spanish, and it's also available on our website. It's called On the Move. So this report is released each April, and it focuses on the audited financials from the previous fiscal year. So this 2023 report reflects the funding investments that were made from July 1 of 21 to June 30 of 22. And as I mentioned, it is available in English and Spanish. As you can see here, for the fiscal year 21-22, Measure V generated nearly $27 million in revenue. That is, the original projection was $15 million a year, so doing pretty well. And half of that then goes directly to the jurisdictions by formula, and we'll look at what that means for Atwater in a second. Oh, there you go. That's what it means for Atwater. Annually, those local funds that directly come to Atwater is the $1 million, and then there's additional revenue through transit and regional projects that we'll talk about. So with these funds, it feels a little silly talking to you about your projects, but I think this is an important part of the community education, is to help highlight the work that you're doing. So if there are any questions, I defer to your very talented staff. But with these local funds, the city's been able to accomplish a lot. This year, we were really trying to focus on the alternative mode, so the bike and pedestrian facilities. So you'll see a heavy reliance on some of the pictures because that's what we were focusing on in 2023. But here in Atwater, you're able to do a number of local street and road improvement projects, some pedestrian improvement projects, and some of which are in the report and on my slide. I think here I have Juniper and Schaefer signal modification project, a few pictures of the Mitchell Schools area and Eileen Coburn school area pedestrian improvements. There we go. Also highlighted in the annual report is the free fare program that we run through the bus, thanks to Measure V. So as I mentioned, 5% of all of the annual revenue is dedicated specifically for transit uses. And our governing board has been very intentional about spending those funds in ways that will have countywide benefit. So what the first action of the MCAG governing board with the Measure V funds was to create a free fare program for veterans, seniors, and ADA eligible riders that originally started just on our fixed route system, but has since been expanded to include fixed route, paratransit, which essentially makes paratransit free because you have to be ADA eligible to ride paratransit. And then also, once we launched microtransit on the west side, those passengers can ride for free as well, thanks to Measure V. And last year, that equated to over 156,000 free rides on our program, thanks to the measure. So I mentioned that this annual report is the product of the Citizens Oversight Committee, which includes representatives that are appointed by each of the member agencies, so including Atwater. Ron Doherty has served as Atwater's appointee for several years now, and we appreciate Atwater making sure you always have a representative, not only to do that important work, but it is what is in the expenditure plan, and we just appreciate that dedication and making sure you're keeping your seat filled. And Ron was a great addition. Oh, and there he is. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, this report is just for 1 year of revenue. So I did just very quickly want to provide some cumulative revenue totals. So we have now 5 full years of Measure V data. So what you can see there is then the grand total for all funding under Measure V for 5 years is $111 million. And that is brand new funds dedicated to transportation for the entire region. That means more than $55 million has gone directly to the jurisdictions, and nearly $45 million has been allocated to regional projects. And with that $30 million that's going to projects on the east side, $19 million specifically designated for projects on the west side. So I think probably the most important slide is this one here, and it summarizes what that has meant for Atwater over the last 5 years. That is a total for the city of Atwater is $7.3 million that has been awarded or made available to Atwater. That breaks down to nearly $4.5 million in local funding, $2.8 million in east side regional funds, which was for the Winton Way reconstruction project that's been completed, and the beginnings to the project development, or the PSR, I believe, for the Bellevue Road rehab realignment that's in progress. I also want to note here another significant project that is very relevant to the region, funded by Measure V on the east side, is the Atwater Merced Expressway, which has a total of about $25.6 million through fiscal year 24-25 that's dedicated to complete that next segment, which is also in the pre-construction process. So a couple more here, just a few before and afters of Winton Way reconstruction project. I mean, the pictures speak for themselves. Those pictures on the left were, what we saw, day in and day out for years, and what really led the community across the county to pass this measure. And of course, you can see the safety, what these projects do in terms of traffic safety, both for vehicles and for bicyclists and pedestrians. So I'll just wrap up by saying, if you have not been to the Measure V page on the MCAG website, I encourage you to do so. You can just go to mcagov.org. There's a button on the right that says Measure V. If you click on that button, it will take you to more information about Measure V than you'll ever want, including this nifty interactive map that shows you where the projects that have been completed in the county are, which are in progress, which ones are planned. This is a living site that we keep. Every time we do an implementation plan update, we make sure this reflects all those investments. And also, like I said, for all of your light reading in the evenings, there's all the annual reports, the audits, the expenditure reports by every jurisdiction, the implementation plan, the expenditure plan. It is the hub of all past and current information for Measure V available to the public. And I know I ran through that pretty quickly, but I believe you have copies of my PowerPoint. I can also make those available to the public if anyone's interested. My contact information is there, and also on the annual report that's on the back. And with that, I thank you for your time tonight, and I'm happy to address any questions you may have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Stacy. That was good. So, any council members have any questions? Well, I think that takes care of it then. Thank you. Have a nice evening. Now we have the monthly report from our Merced County Supervisor from District 3, Darren McDaniel.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I have to say, whenever I listen to Measure V update, it reminds me of Mike Raymond calling me half cent till his last days. So I think he forgot my name. But just a quick update. I was kind of going to dive into the weeds a little bit, but I'm just going to keep it at high. I know County Economic Development staff is working with the city staff in the coming weeks and months on a comprehensive economic development strategy update, better known as a CEDS update. And so what that does is anytime you're speaking in Washington, D.C., or if you're in Sacramento, talking to any departments, the first thing they ask is, does this fit within your CEDS? So if you don't have a CEDS, if it's not updated, you don't even have an opportunity for money. So we're working on that so we can open up the door. Also, this coming Friday, I want to invite Atwater residents to join us at Castle for a free movie in the parade grounds. And this will benefit Junior Giants if you want, but it's free. It's up to you if you want to make a donation, but we'll be watching Maverick. I think that's pretty good idea to do Maverick there. And I do want to also a shout out our Department of Workforce Investment. We'll be hosting a Jobs on the Move again. This is a job fair at Blaker Brewery on September 26th. The last time we did this, we had a significant show up with a lot of folks who got jobs right there on the spot. So definitely put that on your calendar, especially if you got folks looking for a job. We had a lot of folks who showed up there who were currently working or looking for upgrades in their work as well. Are there any questions? September 26th.
What was the movie and the park date?
That's this Friday.
This Friday.
It'll be the 30th. Bring your
Okay.
chairs and blankets.
Well, hopefully not blankets. Hopefully not.
Well, it's supposed to be 100 degrees. I
Yeah,
think,
100
right?
degrees I should be.
But not when it's dark.
Bring your mosquito spray. How's that? You are going to call mosquito district, aren't you, ahead of time and ask them to spray it?
That's a good idea. But I'm sure the Mark and Mark have already thought of that. But I'll follow up.
It's always good to follow up. You never
Yeah.
know, right? Okay, no other questions? Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you.
All righty, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. Janelle, would you please read the standard notice?
Background information has been provided on all matters listed under the consent calendar, and these items are considered to be routine. All items under the consent calendar are normally approved by one motion. If discussion is requested on any item, that item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action.
I'm going to open public comment now regarding the consent calendar. Are there any members of the public inside the chambers who would like to speak regarding any items on the consent calendar? If so, now's the time to come to the podium. Okay, I see nobody come forward. Are there any items on the consent calendar that the council would like to remove for separate discussion and possible action? Nope. Okay, so I'm going to close public comment now and ask for a motion for approval of the consent calendar.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Raymond, second by Kale. Kale,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Button,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We're going to go on to public hearings. Our first hearing is a resolution adopting the updated City of Atwater Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, Self-Evaluation and Transition Plan, the SETP. And Director Thompson, will you please, well, I'm going to open the public hearing, and Director Thompson will give us a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council for your consideration of this item this evening. Earlier tonight, in one of the presentations, you heard a lot about the projects the City of Atwater is currently involved in with respect to Measure V. Well, Measure V is used in conjunction oftentimes with local match for projects that are funded through other mechanisms like SB1 or CMAQ. Now, in order to use these monies for a variety of projects throughout the city, including alternative modes such as your sidewalks, curbs, gutters, things like that, the way that these projects are funded, they go through the federal government, in some cases, Federal Division of Highways, through the Department of Transportation, Caltrans, through our local association of governments, and through a call for projects, and then out to the city. Well, each of these agencies have certain requirements of the city. We spoke at a previous council meeting about the single audit that was performed and what the connection that has to the variety of projects that we have to the city. Well, what we're asking for consideration and adoption tonight is a self-evaluated transition plan for accessibility. One of the components of these many, many projects that we have is how accessible is our city. We're asked and we're made to do a self-evaluation form, and of that self-evaluation form, if there are those items that arise that mean that we're not in compliance with the American with Disabilities Act, we have to have a plan for corrective measures on that throughout the city. We did the self-evaluation. We've identified, as you saw in your packet tonight, those areas of concern or correction that are necessary. This transition plan would allow us to move forward with those corrective measures, and that's what we're asking for the adoption of tonight.
Thank you. Does council have any questions regarding this?
So in regards to kind of looking at accommodations visually impaired, is that also going to be something that's we're going to be looking at as well?
Actually, if you take a look at what the proposed action under the public hearings tonight under item number 12 and number 13, those two have an interrelated quality that I'd like to discuss on the next item. But to answer to your question, in some cases, accommodating the visually impaired is not necessarily a mandate of the ADA transition plan, but it's definitely something that we'll discuss in the next item. And actually, that's a very, very good question, Councilmember Button, because it forces us to look at other things that are outside the box a little bit. It's not just a matter of checking boxes so we can apply for those fundings. It's doing those things that are right for the city. So in answer to your question, in the ADA transition plan, it may not be where we see the opportunities for that, but it definitely will be on the next item, and I'd like to discuss that a little bit.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I had a question as far as the public outreach. was a pretty extensive document that we had presented to us. A lot of staff time went into that. I know we checked the boxes, as you said, on public participation, especially for disabled communities. But I think that, a lot of times we focus on people that can't have access because of wheelchairs or whatever, because our sidewalks are what they are. But I want to make sure, as Tyler brought up, about people that are visually impaired or may have other disabilities too, that they're actually included in the process. I know that, well, Stacy already left, but MCAG for the bus, they have the unmet transit needs. They have a regular committee, I guess, that meets to discuss unmet transit needs. So I just want to make sure going forward that we're more inclusive for the residents of our city.
Actually, it's a really good point, because one of the first opportunities that we have to make either the visually impaired or others that suffered from disabilities or dealing with disabilities, I wouldn't say suffer, but dealing with disabilities, one of the first ports of access for that kind of information and the transparency that you're talking about, Mr. Mayor, is through our website. And currently, it is not fully accessible as far as anyone that would be visually impaired. So one of the corrective measures in the ADA plan is to address that on the website to make sure that the visually impaired are included in that transition, and we can make that available for them.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Come forward, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Hello, my name is Val-Pierre Duray. I'm a teacher at Atwater High School, and this is very important to me, specifically the visually impaired. I teach a lot of students with special needs, and I'm a senior teacher, and a lot of times we teach them as a whole, all the staff, to be independent, right? Be independent. Don't dwell and hope someone's there to help you. And I have students that are visually impaired that struggle with this. We already are at a need for more people to help them. We have one person for this whole area to help visually impaired students. One person. I'm not talking about the city of Atwater. I'm talking about multiple counties here, right? So, and she's supposed to be able to be seen multiple times a week, and this student just has to be seen maybe once every 2 weeks. And we just need more. So if she wants to go on a walk, she can't do that because she has no one to cross the street, because there's is it green, is there lights, I don't know, right? So things like this shouldn't be a box check, which I know, I hear multiple people saying we don't want it that way. So I wanted to make sure that that's very clear from the public as well, right? That these are people, right? The government isn't here to check boxes, they're here to help people. So I want to make sure that we're not box checkers, we're people helpers, right? That's what we do. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else care to speak on this item? Okay, see nobody else coming forward. I'll now close the public hearing. Would any council member like to make a motion regarding this item?
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, excuse me, motion by Button, second by Ambrose. Kale?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Button?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, our next report is approving a budget amendment, amending the 5-year capital improvement program, allocating funding for citywide traffic signals synchronization project, and authorizing and directing the city manager to execute all agreements or documents required for the project. Greg, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, for your consideration of this item. Now, this is one we can truly dovetailing off of the statements of the gentleman that just spoke during the public hearing for the last item. We can dovetail into this thing very successfully by saying, the Local Association of Governments receives a call for projects under our CMAQ, which is one of our sources of funding. City of Atwater scored #1 on this particular project for our request, which is for a citywide synchronization of lights. But it's much more than that. It's the evaluation of 17 different intersections within the city, which, if you look at the synchronization project we just completed on Winton Way, was the installation of new hardware, new software, getting the signals to talk to each other. along with meeting other requirements in that networking ask of the project. We literally have the ability in writing the scope for this project. Now, it doesn't ensure success, but we literally have this is the time. The time is now. If we're going to include in the scope to evaluate 17 different intersections, and it may not be all 17, but in areas of concern for the visually challenged, the inclusion of audible signal activators would be optimal here. We can definitely include that into this project where high value areas for shopping or goods or services or near schools, those can be evaluated for that audible response. So when you have those areas in the number of our residents and visitors to the city that would need to utilize this equipment, now is the time for us to get excited about including this work in this scope. So I can tell you a little bit more about the project in detail. I know there's the project materials. I know I got a little excited about or enthusiastic about our response, but in having conversations with one of our council members about how this is important, this is an excellent opportunity for the city to step out of just what is being required and do something that is functional for the city. That concludes my report, but I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, does any council member have a question for Greg? Okay. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter? Seeing nobody come forward, would any council member like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Kale, second by Raymond. Kale?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Button?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, our next item, number 14, is a resolution awarding a services agreement and franchise for temporary roll-off collection service to Central Valley Disposal of Atwater. And Justin, you got this one?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yep. When we awarded Mid-Valley Disposal the franchise agreement to haul the refuse throughout the city, we allowed for the ability to have a second hauler provide temporary roll-off services in the city limits. A temporary roll-off service is any roll-off that can't be on a piece of property for more than 30 days unless it has a building or an encroachment permit attached to it. So staff went out, we released a request for qualifications, and the city received one proposal from Central Valley Disposal, and that's a local contractor that resides in the city of Atwater. So staff reviewed the proposal and deemed it as a responsive proposal. Central Valley Disposal meets the requirements of SB 1383, and included in their contract is a 5% admin fee of their gross billing. So the city will get that money and it'll go back inside the sanitation fund, and that'll keep the cost down. Staff will list the contact information for Mid-Valley and Central Valley Disposal on the city website and social media so that the residents can use it to get contact to them and then get their cost for their services. If you guys have any questions, me or Jeannie can answer them.
Council have any questions for Justin? Okay, apparently not. Okay. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Seeing nobody come forward. Would any council member like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kale, second by Button. Kale?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Button?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, now we're going to move on to a presentation regarding the illegal fireworks reporting
Excuse me,
smartphone
Mayor.
app.
I have to step out during this presentation. I have a 7 o'clock I have to get to.
Okay. See you later. Anyway, we're going to have a presentation from the Fire Chief Lopes to talk about the NALM smartphone app created by TNT Fireworks. This was a city ordinance that was passed in April, I believe. We want to have people have access to legal fireworks in town, but unfortunately we all have neighbors that like to have illegal fireworks. And in fact, I was notified by somebody who lives over by Buhack Colony High School today, who has had a problem with their neighbor twice now with setting off. And this last incident happened on Saturday, and it caught their house on fire. Luckily, her son saw it, and they were able to get it put out after they called the fire department and whatnot. But thank you for taking care of that. So this tool that Chief Lopes is going to talk about is one of the tools that we're going to be using for the public to report illegal fireworks use in their neighborhood.
Correct. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. For those that don't know me, Blaine Lopes, Fire Marshal for the City of Atwater. So like Mayor said, this is kind of a two-part step that we've gone to. One was the ordinance. We've updated the finding for illegal fireworks. Second is how we are going to get those notifications for who's shooting off the illegal fireworks. So this is a collaborative effort between Atwater City Fire, Atwater Police Department, and most importantly, the citizens of Atwater. Without your reports, we won't know about these illegal fireworks that are being shot or sold. So Nail 'Em is an app that was created by TNT Fireworks. They contacted us. A few departments in the state of California are using it, and we are currently one of the newest cities to be using that app. Where do I point it? That one.
Right.
Figure it out the first time. Yep, perfect. Be way easier. All right, so just a little background on the app known as Nail 'Em. It was created by TNT Fireworks. It is a way for the citizens to notify us on any illegal fireworks that are being shot or sold in the area. This isn't a dispatching application, so it's not automatically notifying us. What this is going to be utilized for is data collecting and also heat maps for the city of Atwater. So we will know general locations of where these are happening, and this is going to give us ideas during 4th of July, things like that, where we're going to be monitoring the closest. Again, we have an Apple app, so if you want to scan that barcode or Google, you can. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So this got implemented about a week ago. This is the heat map that we've gotten, over 20 notifications so far from this application, and as you can see, we are starting to create some sort of heat map with it. Go ahead to the next one. So just a little background to help people when they're utilizing this app. When you download it, there's going to be a message such as this when you start up that gives a little information on it. On the Android app, it's going to look a little bit different, so sorry for your Android apps. We're going to be using the iPhone one for now on our pictures. Go ahead and do the next one. So when you open the app, this is the second thing you will see. It's going to be where you're going to report your illegal firework notification. Everything is going to be either anonymous, or you can input your information, name, things like that, email address. I tend to, once getting the notification, emailing everybody back just to say that we've gotten your report, and I'll be notifying local law enforcement. Also here, it has a little bit about the information, how-to, so how to use the app, and then also how it works. So next slide, please. So when you start your first report or second report, the first thing you're going to see is a report overview. This is where you're going to add the when, where, and who, and what, and this is what you're going to report on. All sections are completed. You'll be able to submit it once done. So you'll have to input each category, and then that can be submitted. Next one. Next, the first thing you're going to do is input your photos. So if you do have photos, you see the illegal fireworks being shot, you can have photos attached to that. This helps us know really the locations that we're seeing. It's easy when it's just words, but a picture tells us a lot. Go next slide, please. Next is what you're reporting. So are you reporting illegal firework usage, or are you reporting illegal firework sales? There's also a third one on the newest version that says if it's aerial fireworks or also the loud ones, the big bang fireworks, so you can input that information as well. Next is just general notes, what you've seen. This is where you're going to put your comments. Remember, comments help out a lot on the report process. And then you can also do an audio note, so if you don't like typing, you can also place an audio note in there as well. Next slide. You can go one. So this is where you can add that audio note to it. So next slide. Next, usually it's going to already have the date and time for you, but if it is an input, you can change date, time, and then that will give us more accurate notification on that. Next part you'll be inputting will be location. So if your GPS is set up on your phone to the app, it will automatically know where you're at, and that will pinpoint where the fireworks were being shot or sold. If not, you can manually input this information as well. Next is going to be who's reporting this. Like I said, it can be anonymous if you'd like, but it does help me emailing you back. That way you know that we have gotten those reports and that we are going to be taking care of it. And then lastly, just some information in the app. It will show you, what is considered an illegal firework, what is considered a safe and sane firework, so the ones that you can buy in the city of Atwater with the California Fire Marshal stamp. Those are safe and sane and allowed in Atwater City. And that is the end of my presentation, but as far as this app goes, it was free of charge for the city of Atwater. Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts on that. I know that was quite a learning experience, having to go through all that and get everything coordinated with the city, so we do appreciate you with that. So you may not be able to answer this, maybe this will be the police chief, but so when we get people, okay, this is not a reporting app, this is not a dispatch app.
Yes.
You're just giving the city information. But for everybody else that's not using the apps, or when people call dispatch and say, hey, we got a problem over here with fireworks, can you help us? What's the response to that?
Okay, so like the mayor said, this app is not a I can't state this enough. This app is not a substitute for calling in to dispatch. The information that we're going to glean from this app will provide us analytical data for next year. So if you have an incident where the fireworks are going off over your house, then we need the following information. First, we need a contemporary call. I've got dispatchers here in the room, and they will vouch for this. It does not help us to get the call 30 minutes after you see the fireworks go over your house. We need the call when they're going over their house. Okay? We need to know what you see, when you see it, how you see it, and from where you're seeing it. This is really important for this particular piece of the puzzle. Because for a criminal charge, we have to have something called probable cause. And we have to be able to identify the person who lit the fireworks, positively identify that person. For the city ordinance, we need to be able to pinpoint the location that the fireworks comes from for the purpose of property owner information that allow officers to write administrative citations that the new ordinance that really just was placed into effect at the beginning of the month will allow us to write. So we need a call when it's going on. Don't wait. And that's for every type of call. Don't wait. Please call us when this stuff's going on. And then calling us from inside your residence saying, I hear fireworks going over the top of our residence, does not help us pinpoint its location. Because as we all know, on the 4th of July, you can hear fireworks going off from the Winton, from Beechwood, from Franklin, and you'll hear those in Atwater. I know I've worked the last 4 4th of Julys at night, and yes, they're going off right over the top of City Hall. And we're catching those people, but we're also chasing the stuff in the county because you guys are calling us. We will be vigorously enforcing illegal fireworks this year. The 4th of July is the only day that I do not allow a vacation request form by any member of the police department. We will be there at maximum enforcement mode for 24 hours. And then the data that we receive from this year, we will pre-plan our events next year, and we will use the new technology that the council allowed us to get this year, and we're going to have aerial reconnaissance over these areas for next year. So, do not buy illegal fireworks. We are busy enough as it is, the fire department especially. Don't buy them. It's not worth it. The city ordinance is a $1,000 fine if you host a party where illegal fireworks is going off. And you, the property owner, don't have to be the shooters. If you allow them on your property, you are just as liable to the city ordinance as the shooter themselves. And we will be citing for $1,000 a pop. If it's 2 times, it's $2,500. If it's 3 times, it's $5,000. So, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth the house that was burned over the weekend. Yes, they're cool. Yes, they look like fun. Yes, oh, what could happen? Until it happens. So,
Okay, thank you for that. Blaine, thank you for your efforts as well. Any council members have any questions?
Blaine, it says you accept photos. How about videos? Does it have enough memory to accept videos?
No, good question. Yeah, it does.
Okay, great. All right.
Okay. Moving along. Now we're on city manager updates.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, as part of my updates, I want to talk about our utility services within the city of Atwater and assure our residents that the council and staff remain to take your services remain to be a priority, and some of our employees who are here tonight maintain some of those services. That being said, many of our improvements assure reliable water, sewer, storm, and sanitation services. And with the realization that one of our big projects, our large investment with the city, was our TCP project that was completed to ensure that the city has safe, clean drinking water, as well as the start of a construction of a new production well. The city is managing our water system to ensure that our water, or our residents' water needs, are taken care of for years to come. Our sewer system is also continuously going through system evaluation and improvements, and currently is reconstructing multiple lift stations to ensure reliability as well as safe working conditions for our employees. Additionally, we've begun the evaluation of looking at expanding the capacity at our wastewater treatment plant. Much of the city's storm water collection system is antiquated, and as the city's road surfaces are being replaced, we're taking the opportunity to use that time and good use of funding sources to install upgrades where necessary. We're also looking at the historic areas that suffer from flooding to relieve some of those flooding areas and installing new facilities in those areas. Reminder, the new waste handling contract with Mid-Valley Disposal will go into effect July 1, and you've probably seen them driving around in the city. They're already trying to get a feel of where the routes are so that they can start July 1 hitting the ground running. And as a reminder to our valued residents, we've been putting notices in the utility newsletter, our utility bills, and social media. But beginning in September, we'll be beginning shut-off services for accounts that are 60 days past due. Please, if you need assistance or you need to set up a payment plan, come in and talk to our finance department or give them a call and we can set up and arrange that for you. That's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you for that good information. Now we're on to comments from the public. Janelle?
At this time, any person may comment on any item which is not on the agenda. You may state your name and address for the record, however, it is not required. Action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to staff and replaced on a future agenda. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes.
Under the Brown Act, members of the public are entitled to directly address the city council as a legislative body of the city, not other members of this public or staff. I am going to open public comment. And do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor, we have 2 speaker cards.
Okay, we'll start with those first, please.
Okay. For the first speaker card, we have Lisa Rasmussen.
Okay.
I do have some handouts for the council members. Could you now, or
I could take it. Thank you.
Can you pull, yeah, thank you. I was going to say, pull the microphone down.
no, they can. Again, Lisa Rasmussen, Atwater, California. I'm the corporate secretary for Atwater Little League, an organization that provides a youth recreation program to over 800 kids who play softball and baseball in Atwater. I'm here to express our league's frustration regarding an amendment to our agreement between the City of Atwater and Little League and why it has not made its way to your dais for consideration and possible action. On October 11th, 22, an amendment requesting the use of Fireman's Memorial Ballpark for our upper division teams, they're 13 to 16-year-olds. They need a 90-foot base and a 60-foot, 60-inch pitching mound, which is not available in other parks, and the use of a field at Veterans Park. After many weeks and phone calls with no response to this request, it took until January for me to have a conversation with Eugene in Recreation, who assured me that the league was going to hear something very soon. In January and February of this year, the league suffered several consistent losses. We had a catastrophic fire to our storage unit, followed by torrential rains, damage to the fields, and then a break-in at the concession. As a result, on the 21st of February, a letter was sent to Lori Waterman asking for an extension of 1 year in order for the league to make city-required repairs to the park. It took weeks before I received a call from Stephanie in the city manager's office, who let me know that once the staff report was received, then it could come to council. Eugene also called me to let me know that the staff report would be ready about the 1st of April. I shared with him that we're attempting to schedule our upper division older kids league at that point, and that request that was sent to him was already 5 months old. April came and went with no movement on our request. In late April, I again spoke with Stephanie, who advised that the staff report had been received. In June, nearly 8 months after our original request and 4 months after the latest request, I was then told the item would appear on the June 12th agenda. It didn't. Then I was told it would appear on tonight's agenda. It doesn't. Our season is over, and after 8 months, we still don't have any amendments with our city. Now I'm hearing that rather than being granted the use of the fields we were led to believe would be forthcoming, and the extension we so needed for repairs, that inside City Hall, suddenly everything is being changed, still with no communication to Little League. Little League could bring thousands upon thousands of dollars into this city and our businesses if we had the right facilities. Everyone's losing at this point. I ask you, council members, staff, can you give me one good reason why it has taken 8 months for a simple set of amendments to an agreement that has been in place for 30 years, has been allowed to sit on someone's desk and do nothing but collect dust?
Thank you. Okay, the next card, please.
It is for Arturo Martinez.
Good evening, council members and mayor. Today, I was going to read some of the legislative package. I did email this to y'all probably about 2 weeks ago. Some of the bills the Senate has been working on. One of them, the one I will highlight, is AB 112, which is Financial Distress Hospital Emergency Loan Program, which creates an emergency loan program for closed hospitals seeking to reopen or those at risk of closure. SB 17, Senior Housing Production revises the requirement of the California Tax Credit Allocation Committee's low-income housing tax credit to ensure that a minimum percentage of the credits allocated are for senior housing projects based on census demographic data. California Water for All, SB 366, revises and recasts the California Water Plan, updating its provisions to address the extreme climate impacts of the 21st century. SB 621 reduces prescription drug prices for California Patients Act in order to reduce healthcare premiums and provide safe and effective treatment options. SB 657, geriatric training for homeless service providers, will enhance gerontoctical age-related training for homeless service providers to better prepare them to assist older adults experiencing homelessness. SB 785, Tickets to Consumer Protection Act, enacts meaningful reforms that places consumers and entertainers first. There's also some of the legislation worked on by Senator Ana Caballero, and I did email this to you. I just wanted to highlight that today at this meeting. Also, I don't know if some of y'all got the opportunity to be at this event this Saturday, you know, the recognition to Lieutenant Colonel Cliff James, you know, who passed away, but they had a recognition by him. There was a beautiful, you know, send-off by the airplanes, and it was just a really beautiful event. So hopefully y'all got to be part of that. Yeah, just wanted to close by that. I also do want to schedule some meetings with y'all before the end of next month. So I'll be sending y'all some emails or phone calls, whatever works best. And thank you. That's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you, Arturo. Okay, are there any members of the public inside the chambers who would like to speak? If so, you may come forward now for your 3 minutes.
Mayor, council members, Mary McWaters with AFSCME. As you will remember, last meeting, it was there was a very contentious interaction between council members and the employees here. I'm not here to continue that, but as you will see, there are numerous city employees here in the audience continuing to show a sign of solidarity. Last week, we gave the council, we gave the city a proposal in regards to the ARPA funds. I just want to let you know that we're looking forward to the council's response to our proposal, and we'd like to remind you, by looking around this room, that these are the people that keep the city running. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Linda?
Morning or good evening or whatever it is. Linda Dash Atwater, and I really enjoyed our city manager's report tonight because she was right on. But these are the folks here that keep your water going, your toilets flushing, and keep us happy. I think we're supposed to have something like a tsunami next week. They're going to have their little heinies out there in the 3-digit, just like our police. You know, actually supplying the services that we all expect. So just remember, please, if you do go back into closed session, they need a good raise. Thank you.
Ready? Kristan?
Good evening, Mayor Nelson, City Council, and staff. Kristan Santos here, representing the office of Congressman John Duarte. But also, first, to start off, I'd like to take the opportunity to congratulate Eric Long for being our Atwater Firefighter of the Year. As you can see tonight, I'm rocking some Atwater Falcons FFA swag, but don't worry if you had Colony Thunder, the Congressman loves you guys too. Congressman Duarte had the honor of joining Atwater FFA advisor Dan Flatt and his FFA officers and many of the Atwater High team to tour Atwater's hands-on learning facilities and to discuss their vision for the future of Atwater FFA. He was extremely impressed with the career and technical education opportunities available for Atwater High students, ranging from engine mechanics to carpentry and metalworking. As one of the largest FFA chapters in the state, Atwater FFA stands as a benchmark program that will enrich the Central Valley's economy and agricultural heritage for generations. The Congressman is excited to watch these brilliant students take what they learned from Atwater FFA and go on to be future leaders in our community. Go Falcons. Our office also had the sincere honor of joining the family of Lieutenant Colonel Cliff James, also known as Mr. Museum, and the Castle Air Museum Board for his beautiful memorial dedication ceremony at Castle Air Museum this past Saturday. We are incredibly grateful to have been a part of this ceremony commemorating a man who honorably served his country and turned the vision of Castle Air Museum into a reality. Thanks to Cliff James, people from around the world would be able to visit the city of Atwater to explore incredible feats of aviation engineering and celebrate Atwater's illustrious military heritage for decades to come. The congressman took an opportunity to stand up for abundant water as he questioned the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers over the newest SCOTUS ruling on Sackett. The recent Sackett versus Environmental Protection Agency Supreme Court decision was the first step in finally providing Valley farmers some clarity when it comes to water regulations. During a T&I hearing this week, the congressman was able to express his concerns directly to leaders from the Army Corps about the next steps following Sackett and how we can build a regulatory framework that works for our valley. Our valley thrives when we have water on the farms, and the congressman is committed to making sure our government works for and not against working families, farmers, and small business owners. The community will also have an opportunity to, in a town hall setting, ask Congressman Duarte questions at a town hall in Patterson, California. Tomorrow, June 27th, it's going to be from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Hammond Senior Center at 1033 West Las Palmas Avenue in Patterson. And we're hoping this is going to be the start of an open dialogue in many communities in our district to have our constituents have an opportunity to talk to the congressman themselves. We'd also like to wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July, and thank you for the opportunity to provide this update.
Thank you. Anybody else here would like to speak on any item?
I just wanted to quickly tell people that inundated my office with a whole bunch of phone calls. The aircraft that was seen Monday and stayed for 3 days out of Castle was in fact the aircraft that would normally transport the vice president. When an aircraft such as that comes to Castle, it comes with a very extensive force protection, and so things go into lockdown. I apologize to those that were trying to get out there. They wanted to go out and take a look. You cannot go out and take a look at the VP's plane. I'm sorry, but you just can't do that. Anyway, I just wanted to let people know that. The VP and no other dignitaries were on this aircraft. It was just repositioned to Castle, and it stayed here just for the duration of the time that the visit was being taken care of some other location. So I just wanted to clear that up. Wanted to also thank the city for getting a second CMAQ grant for the lights. Thank you, Greg, if you were the one that was able to secure that grant. We had that grant back in 2015, and I'm glad that we were able to secure it a second time for synchronization of the lights. Now, for those that were able to get into the warrants tonight and the agenda, you will see, if you had seen, a line item for $4,837.50 for graffiti abatement. So if you can, could anybody please, I'll give you a homework assignment, come back next meeting and bring back the report about what work was completed, where it was completed, how they were dispatched out there, why they went out and spent our money rather than have Public Works, who is very capable, I'm sure, of shooting a spray gun or rolling a pan of paint over graffiti. Once again, $4,837.50 is a waste of taxpayers' money. That contract needs to go away. I don't know what is holding you up from doing it, other than maybe personal associations with the guy that holds the contract, and we all know who that is. It needs to go away. We need to stop spending over $90,000 a year and wasting it on graffiti abatement when it comes time to people that we already have employed being able to go ahead and do that. If you can't, then what are you here for? If not to go and save the taxpayers' funds that are there. If I can coin a phrase, once again, we're being ambushed.
Pastor Miller.
Rich Miller, 334 Silva Drive, also pastor Victory Baptist Church here in Atwater, 1280 Sierra Vista Street. In Luke 1:17, the angel Gabriel told Zacharias, the father of John the Baptist, that his son would go in the spirit and power of the Old Testament prophet Elijah, and that one of his goals would be to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. The parent-child relationship has always been an important one because it's a shadow of the relationship that God has with believers. And this evening I want to bring to light 3 bills that have been presented to our California State Assembly and that could potentially damage the relationships that children have with their parents. The first of these is AB 223, which would require any petition for a change of gender and sex identifier or a petition for change of gender, sex identifier, and name filed by a person under 18 years of age, and any papers associated with the proceeding to be kept confidential by the court. Even though the minor's parents would have the ability to access these records, this bill is concerning because it could serve as a gateway to future bills that are dangerous to parents' rights, like the next bill, AB 665, which would align the existing laws by requiring the professional person treating or counseling a minor to consult with the minor before determining whether involvement of the minor's parents or guardian would be inappropriate. In other words, the adult counselor can decide that it is inappropriate to contact a minor's parents or guardians about his or her mental health condition or concerns about talking with the minor. That bill would also allow a child who's 12 years to 18 years of age to check themselves out of their home and into a group home without the consent of their parents. The final bill is AB 957. Existing law governs the determination of child custody and visitation in contested proceedings and requires the court, for purposes of deciding custody, to determine the best interests of the child based on certain factors, including, among other things, the health, safety, and welfare of the child. AB 957 would have the judge look at whether or not a parent affirms the gender of the child. And if they choose to change their gender, then, and the parent does not affirm that, they would be considered abusive as a parent. All three of these bills have been voted upon in our state assembly and received an aye vote from our local assemblywoman, Esmeralda Soria. These bills have also been brought before the California State Senate Judiciary Committee, of which our local senator, Ana Caballero, is a member. She too has supported these three bills with an aye vote. These bills could be voted upon in the California State Senate very soon and voted into law by our governor, signed into law by our governor before the end of the calendar year. I'd like to encourage all parents in the county of Merced to call the senator's office and to encourage her to retract her previous vote by voting nay to these three bills when they are brought to the Senate floor. I would also like to encourage parents to call Assembly Member Soria's office to share their disappointment over her support of these three bills.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Gabe?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. Gabe Santos, 3391 Shoreline Drive. Thanks for the showing up, folks. Appreciate it, and you'll get taken care of. I'm confident that that will occur. Nonetheless, I want to thank the city manager. Lori Waterman's been with the city for the past 5 years. We need to think about a couple items here. I know that there was some closed comment or closed session today. Just want to make sure that myself, and on behalf of having worked with Lori on various occasions, that I remind the city council that she's a hard worker. She's dedicated a lot of her time and effort over the last 5 years to the city of Atwater. She's done a great job, and I've really had a good time working with her, and I appreciate the fact that we continue to take care of our city employees like we have in the past. I've worked with Lori on various community groups, community committees. She's very dedicated. She stepped in at a time when the city was broke. Her and Chief Petro had to take on the city, make some hard decisions that probably came out of laws and regulations, and that passed council and legal requirements. So nonetheless, I just want to make sure that took the opportunity to thank Lori and the staff and everybody here in the city of Atwater for their hard work. Appreciate the report that was given earlier. Again, we're starting to see transparency. That's what we like. When questions come up, there's follow-up. I know there's always room for improvement. Got a couple items today, but those items, I'm confident those will get addressed. Also want to thank the police department. I'm glad we're talking about city ordinances. We have a couple that hopefully we'll start enforcing, including those fireworks. Thank you, Chief Lopes. Last year was interesting for 4th of July when you remember our veterans and our pets. Not to mention all the illegal fireworks, but it is a hard time for some of those, and they've already started. So in closing, I just want to make sure that I reiterate that we appreciate our hardworking city employees from top down, from the mayor to the city council, including our city manager and all the law enforcement and firefighters. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good afternoon, good morning, evening. Jeannie, I want to thank you guys for approving that contract for Central Valley Disposal. And I also want to talk about the Christmas tree. We have, Mr. Price comes up here every 2 weeks and calls that Christmas tree plastic. He's never seen the tree up close and personal, but the tree is made out of metal. It's got metal rings all the way around it, and it's made out of vinyl. A lot of difference between plastic and vinyl. It's kind of like calling jet fuel gasoline. Thank you.
Okay, that was a good, that was interesting.
That was good.
Anybody else? This is your chance. Okay, seeing nobody else come forward, I'm going to close public comment now. And we're going to go to council member reports. We'll start with Mr. Kale.
Well, I'd like to wish everybody a wonderful 4th of July. I want to thank the Public Works Department for getting barriers out and police and fire so that the Portuguese community could have a great Portuguese festa this weekend. It was a great event. I want to remember everybody that on July 1, there's going to be a spaghetti feed for donate for the Atwater feed store that burned down, and I'm going to provide the council with a ticket for that feed themselves, and welcome you guys all to come and enjoy that feed. It will be at the Atwater Memorial Building, the old VFW building, between 4 and 7, and there will be a silent auction at that event. So everybody have a great 4th of July.
Thank you. Mr. Button.
I'll start with something cheery and positive. Yesterday, I celebrated 12 years of marriage with my wonderful wife. So just wanted to throw that out there. I wanted to see, and I was going to talk with Lori maybe a little bit more about this and see what the options are. Getting maybe a Caltrans representative or supervisor of some sort, city or planner with Caltrans, and just not to grill this person or Caltrans, but just, you know, maybe they could come and just answer some questions about what we can expect, what's going on, you know, simple things like that. If you've watched city council meetings, I've complained about how 99's been that connects Merced and Atwater. I was driving home, and I know you guys all can probably agree. I was just driving home last night, coming through Merced. They just did a little bit of a change again, and the swerve that they put in, I don't know what point in Merced, but the way they put the swerve in, the oncoming traffic, some of you guys probably know what I'm talking about. The oncoming traffic headlights hit you because you're making a turn, and there's no shoulder, and you can't see the divider. Oh, my time is up.
Thank you for your
that was just a warning, like, wrap it up. But you can't see the divider because the headlights are coming straight at you. So when they planned that swerve, they didn't take into account the headlights coming straight at you, and it creates a shadow. And when I was driving, I could not see the divider. And it was dangerous. If there was a truck on a semi truck on my right, I don't even know what I was gonna do because I had to move over to the right because I could not see where that divider was. And it's a mess. So I think we deserve to be able to just have somebody come and at least let us know they're doing what they can. I've reached out to Caltrans a few different times. No one's gotten back to me.
I believe
nobody.
They're coming to the next meeting.
Are they? Okay. All right. Cool. Awesome. Okay, I'll stop right there then. Anyways, the next thing I just kind of want to, I know this isn't locally, but there's a microphone in front of me, so I'm going to say it. I am disappointed in State Senator Caballero and in her support of AB 957 and AB 665. I've called and asked to get a call back. I know I'm just a local Atwater City Councilman, but I did call and asked just just to get some questions answered as to, you know, where does she feel the parent's role is in a child's education and a child making decisions on a sex change or a gender change? Where does she feel like a parent's role is in that? Do they have a role in that decision? I feel like those are basic questions. I'd love to hear her thoughts on that and why she voted yes on AB 957. If you get a chance, look it up, AB 957. It's a nasty bill. So as a parent, I cannot believe that in California, we are actually even talking about this kind of bill. So that's my thoughts. Sorry to end on kind of a contentious, but yeah. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I got.
Okay. Councilmember Ambrose.
I'm going to go a different route here. I just want to wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July, and I hope to see all of you out there during the parade.
All right, I have no comments tonight. We are going to close this meeting and we're going to continue with closed session. So this part of the meeting is adjourned.